Picture this. It's a beautiful day on a golf course in the 1890s. You're about to tee off, but before you can hit the ball, you have to get on your hands and knees and build a little mound of sand with your fingers. You pinch the damp sand into a cone shape. You try to make it the same height as last time. You place the ball on top. Your hands are dirty. Your back hurts from bending over. The mound is uneven. The ball rolls off. You do it again, and again, and again, at every single hole. This was golf in the 1890s, until one man, a dentist, a Harvard professor, and the son of an escaped slave, decided there had to be a better way. His name was George Franklin Grant, and on December 12, 1899, he patented the wooden golf tee, the same design golfers use today. But here's what most people don't know. Grant never marketed his invention. He gave it away to friends, and when he died in 1910, his invention died with him. 10 years later, a white dentist copied his design, paid a famous golfer to use it, and became rich. For 92 years, the wrong man got credit for inventing the golf tee. This is the story of George Franklin Grant and how his invention was stolen from history. George Franklin Grant was born on September 15, 1846, in Oswego, New York. His mother was Phyllis Pitt. His father was Tudor Grant, a man who had escaped slavery in Maryland in 1832. Let me repeat that. George Grant's father was a runaway slave who fled bondage and built a new life in upstate New York. Tudor Grant became a prominent barber in Oswego. He owned his own shop in the basement of what is now the Children's Museum of Oswego. But he was more than a barber. Tudor Grant was an abolitionist. He ran a station on the Underground Railroad, smuggling enslaved people to freedom across Lake Ontario into Canada. This was the household George Grant grew up in. A household where freedom wasn't just talked about, it was fought for. George and his siblings attended one of the few schools in the country where black and white children were equally admitted, according to historical records. But when George was 15 years old, he had an argument with his father. The records say it was about clothing. His father thought George dressed inappropriately for a young man his age. George moved out. He got a job as an errand boy for a local dentist, Dr. Albert Smith. He ran errands. He cleaned equipment. He worked in the lab. And slowly, over 5 years, he learned the basics of dental practice. Dr. Smith saw potential in young George. He encouraged him to pursue dentistry professionally. So in 1867, at age 21, George Grant left Oswego and moved to Boston, Massachusetts. He was about to make history. In 1868, George Grant enrolled at Harvard Dental School. This was only 1 year after the school was founded. He wasn't the first black student. That honor went to Robert Tanner Freeman, who graduated in 1869. But Grant was the second. He graduated in 1870 with distinction as one of 12 students in his class. And then, in 1871, Harvard hired him as an assistant in the Department of Mechanical Dentistry. This made George Franklin Grant the first African-American faculty member at Harvard University. Not just the dental school, the entire university. Think about that. This is 1871, 6 years after the Civil War ended, and a black man, the son of an escaped slave, was teaching at Harvard. Grant worked at Harvard for 19 years. He became a founding member and later president of the Harvard Odontological Society. In 1881, he was elected president of the Harvard Dental Alumni Association. But his real passion was treating patients with cleft palate, a condition where the roof of the mouth doesn't fully close. Patients with cleft palate had difficulty speaking and eating. It was a social and medical challenge. Grant pioneered the treatment of this condition. He invented prosthetic devices that help patients with cleft palate speak and eat more normally. These were custom-fitted appliances that help guide the palate into proper alignment. He treated his first patient in 1873, a 14-year-old girl. By 1889, he had treated 115 cases. He became internationally renowned for his work. Patients traveled from Canada and Michigan to see him. One of his patients was Harvard University President Charles Eliot. Grant wrote papers. He received awards. He was considered a pioneer in prosthetic dentistry. In 1889, he left Harvard to open his own private practice at 86 Pinckney Street in Boston's Beacon Hill neighborhood. He was successful, respected, accomplished. But there was one thing that frustrated him: golf. Before we continue, if you're learning about an inventor who should have been recognized decades ago, hit that like button and subscribe. This story gets even more interesting. George Grant loved golf. He was one of the first African-American golfers in post-Civil War America. He even built his own meadow golf course next to his summer home in Arlington Heights, Massachusetts. His daughter, Frances, remembered caddying for him in the 1880s. But there was one aspect of golf that drove him crazy: teeing off. Here's how it worked in the 1890s. Before you could hit the ball, you had to build a little mound of sand or dirt. You'd bend down, scoop up some damp sand, pinch it between your fingers to form a cone shape. Then you'd place the ball on top. But here's the problem. Every mound was different. Sometimes it was too tall, sometimes too short, sometimes it collapsed. It was messy. Your hands got dirty. On rainy days, it was even worse. And you had to do this at every single tee box. Grant described it in his patent application as the usual conical mounds of sand or similar material formed by the fingers of the player. He called it an annoyance and sometimes discomfort. That's putting it mildly. So Grant, who had already pioneered dental prosthetics for cleft palate patients, decided to solve this problem too. He was a tinkerer, an engineer, a problem solver. And in 1899, he came up with a solution. On July 1st, 1899, George Franklin Grant filed a patent application with the United States Patent Office. On December 12, 1899, he was granted patent number 638,920. The title, Golf Tee. Let me read you exactly what Grant wrote in his patent application. This is his own language. This invention has for its object the production of a simple, cheap, and effective tee for use in the game of golf, obviating the use of the usual conical mounds of sand or similar material formed by the fingers of the player on which the ball is supported when driving off. Simple, cheap, effective. That was his goal. He continued, the annoyance and sometimes discomfort attendant upon the formation of a sand tee are obviated thereby. So what did he invent? Grant described it like this. The tee comprises a rigid base portion and an attached flexible head, the base being preferably made of wood and tapering to a point at its lower end to be readily inserted in the ground. The base was wood. It tapered to a point so you could push it into the ground. But here's the clever part. The top was made of rubber tubing, specifically gutta-percha, the same material used to make golf balls and dentures at the time. Grant was a dentist. He knew materials. The rubber head was flexible. It had a little cup where the ball would rest. Grant specified that the head should project about 3/4 of an inch above the ground. And here's why it was brilliant. When the ball is struck, the head will yield in the direction of travel of the ball, offering no obstruction to its flight. And if the club strikes the head, as will frequently be the case, the yield will not in any way retard or stop the proper swing of the club as it is carried through the stroke. The tee bent when you hit it. It didn't interfere with your swing. And Grant explained the key benefit. By the use of the tee, as described, the player is sure that his ball is uniformly elevated from the ground at each drive. At each drive, uncertainty of a sand tee is overcome, as it is practically impossible to make them of uniform height each time. Consistency. Every tee was the same height. Every time. No more guessing. No more dirty hands. No more bending over to pinch sand into shape. It was a perfect solution. And it's essentially the same design golfers use today. So what did George Grant do with this invention? Did he start a company? Did he mass produce it? Did he sell it to golf courses? No. He had a small shop in Arlington Heights manufacture a few dozen tees. And then he gave them away. To his friends. To his golfing partners. To people he played with. He never marketed it. He never tried to make money from it. Why? We don't know for certain. But here's what we do know. Grant was an inventor, not a businessman. His passion was solving problems, not selling products. He had already pioneered prosthetic dentistry for cleft palate patients. He had a successful dental practice. He was financially comfortable. He didn't need the money. But there's another possibility. Dr. Warnie Reed, who researched Grant's story extensively, wrote this. Dr. Lowell was able to market his tee, whereas Dr. Grant did not wish to do so and would most likely have been blocked from doing so if he had tried. Let me say that again. Grant would most likely have been blocked from doing so if he had tried. This was 1899. A black man trying to enter mainstream commerce and industry? The barriers would have been enormous. So Grant gave his invention away. And when he died on August 21st, 1910, of liver disease at his vacation home in Chester, New Hampshire, his invention died with him. Or so it seemed. Fast forward to 1920, 10 years after Grant's death. A white dentist in Maplewood, New Jersey, named Dr. William Lowell had an idea. He would make a golf tee. He started with gutta-percha, the same material Grant used. But it was too fragile, so he switched to white birch. He painted the tees red and called them the Ready Tee. In 1922, Dr. Lowell paid $1,500 to PGA legend Walter Hagen and his partner Joe Kirkwood to use his tees in an exhibition match. The publicity worked. That year, Lowell made $100,000 in sales. $100,000 in 1922. That's equivalent to about $1.8 million today. And here's the kicker. Lowell didn't get his patent until 1928, 6 years after he started selling. His patent number was US 1670627, 29 years after Grant's patent. But nobody remembered Grant. For decades, golf history books credited William Lowell as the inventor of the wooden golf tee. In May 1991, Golf Digest published an article suggesting that Dr. William Lowell invented the modern golf tee. Not 1910, not 1920, not 1950, 1991. George Grant had been dead for 81 years, and the wrong man was still getting credit. But then, a researcher named Dr. Warney Reed decided to investigate. He looked at the patent records. He found Grant's patent from 1899. He contacted the United States Golf Association, and he discovered something shocking. The USGA, the leading golf institution in America, did not recognize George Franklin Grant as the inventor of the golf tee. They hadn't even heard of him. Dr. Reed published his findings in an essay in the Trotter Review in 1991. He wrote that Dr. Grant was not given his due in golf's top publication, Golf Digest, is illustrative of the many difficulties that persist in maintaining accuracy and visibility in the historical record when it comes to African Americans. He concluded, "What this history reflects is the problems that blacks have often had in American society, stemming from a lack of equal access to mainstream industry and commerce." Finally, in 1991, the USGA officially recognized Dr. George Franklin Grant as the original inventor of the wooden golf tee. 92 years after he patented it, 81 years after he died. In 2023, Harvard School of Dental Medicine commissioned a portrait of George Franklin Grant. The artist was Stephen Coit. A faculty member, Dr. Lydia Legg, consulted to ensure the dental instruments in the painting were accurate. Today, Grant's portrait hangs prominently at Harvard School of Dental Medicine, alongside other historic figures including Robert Tanner Freeman, the first black graduate of the school. The dean of Harvard School of Dental Medicine, William Gianobile, said, "We're honored to pay tribute to Dr. Grant by giving his portrait a place of prominence at Harvard. His story and remarkable accomplishments as a trailblazing clinician, inventor, and scholar are inspirational." Grant's golf tee patent, US 638920, has been cited by 33 subsequent patents. His design, wood base, flexible head, uniform height, is still the blueprint for modern tees. Every golfer who uses a tee today is using George Franklin Grant's invention, even if they don't know his name. Let's recap what George Franklin Grant accomplished. First black faculty member at Harvard University. Pioneer in cleft palate treatment. He invented prosthetic devices that helped patients speak and eat normally. He treated 115 cases by 1889. Inventor of the golf tee. Patent US 638,920, granted December 12, 1899. Among the first black golfers in post-Civil War America, he was the son of an escaped slave who ran the Underground Railroad. He graduated from Harvard with distinction. He treated Harvard's president. He was internationally renowned in his field. He invented a product that changed sports forever. And for 92 years, history forgot him. Not because his invention wasn't good enough, not because his patent wasn't valid, but because, as Dr. Warney Reed wrote, he would most likely have been blocked from mainstream commerce if he had tried. So he gave his invention away. and a white man copied it, marketed it, and got rich. That's the part of the story that should make you angry. But here's the part that should inspire you. Grant didn't invent the golf tee for money. He invented it to solve a problem, to make the game better, to help golfers have a more consistent, cleaner, more enjoyable experience. And he succeeded. Every tee used today, wooden, plastic, bamboo, is based on his design. His legacy isn't the money he didn't make. His legacy is the millions of golfers who benefit from his invention every single day. If this story opened your eyes to an inventor who should have been recognized a century ago, hit that like button and subscribe. We're uncovering more stories like this, inventors whose contributions were erased from history. Drop a comment. Did you know George Franklin Grant invented the golf tee? I'll see you in the next one.